So, I gave in to the impulse to rescue a sad, sad orchid, mostly because the rescue did not cost me much. Um, and today I'm going to repot her into something nicer. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about why I name my plants, why I name them at all, and why I name them the way I do. So come join me. Alright, had this new girl soaking for a bit, so we're gonna get her out of this outer pot and start getting her loose. Orchids are always in terrible pots from the nursery. Of course, it's because the nurseries are cheap, but also because in nursery conditions, the terrible pots are okay. And additionally, because a nursery will be having, hundreds, thousands of plants. They could afford to just lose some and not really care. I, though, I'm going to try and save this poor baby. As I say, it doesn't have a name yet. I do name all my houseplants. I don't name my... Whoop, yeah, I just lost that clip. I don't name my outdoor plants. Partly because a lot of them are annuals and I lose them, or they're not annuals and I lose them anyway. And partly just because I never did before getting back into houseplants. The first houseplant I got when I was getting back into houseplants was a Venus flytrap. I've always loved carnivorous plants. I used to keep them years ago. So that was sort of what tempted me, was of all places, the grocery store had a Venus flytrap just at Winco, sitting next to the live basils. It was like, oh, what? So I was like, you know what? Oh, wow, you poor baby. No wonder you're not doing well. Look at those dead roots. Anyway, and a Venus flytrap is kind of, it feels like a creature. It is carnivorous. It eats bugs. So I thought, you know what, I'll give it a name. And he's named Hedylogos because Hedylogos is the is one of the orchids, the gods of love and passion and all that fun stuff. And I have misplaced my sterile shears. Oh dear, where did I put them? Apparently this is a very good question. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. So Hedylogos is, as I say, one of the various gods of romance and passion and all that sort of thing. He is the son of Aphrodite, who is, of course, Venus, right? The Roman name. Well, Roman gods and Greek gods are not actually entirely the same, but they're certainly very similar, and in Aphrodite's case, I'd say it counts. So Venus, of the Venus flytrap, Aphrodite, her son, Hedylogos, and he's specifically the god of sweet talk and flattery. So, of course, you can see why that's a perfect name for a Venus flytrap. And why did I know that? Why did I know all about such an obscure figure? Most people don't even know what the Orotes are, let alone their names. Although a few people might know Eros, not Eros, different god. And more, of course, know the Roman equivalent, which is Cupid. But anyway, it's because I am a Hellenic polytheist. My religion is Greek religion-ish. Obviously, I am not Greek, and in these modern days, we don't even know everything about what the ancient Greeks did. And in fact, the ancient Greeks is a misnomer too. Most of what we know is specifically Athenian, from Athens, because they were snobby, scholarly sorts. They believed in writing everything down. So, so we have a record. And the Romans quite liked them. And the Romans preserved a lot of what we know about ancient Greece. Anyway, so, but I am you know, my own modern take on the religion of ancient Greece. That is my religion, polytheism. And I know a few of you who watch these videos have found me through my participation in the Dapper Dinosaurs community. So it might seem a little weird that somebody who is very into debunking theist wackadoos would be religious and theist myself. But I'm an agnostic. I do not know if the gods are real. Logically speaking, I think it's quite likely they're not. But I find I get something positive out of my faith, out of my acts of worship, and out of nice little things like naming plants after the gods that seem to suit them best. That's the thing, I think that giving in to your silly little impulses is wonderful, and more people should do it. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily impulsive, exactly. In fact, I get intrusive thoughts, so I have quite a lot of horrifying impulses. I do not give in to those. But, you know, when you have a silly little impulse, when you have the impulse to do something frivolous and lighthearted and fun that hurts nobody, why not? So I had the impulse to name a Venus flytrap after a Greek god of love and romance. I had that impulse and I gave into it. And I am thoroughly enjoying following through on it by naming all my other plants. All my Phalaenopsis orchids, I decided to have a scheme. All my Phalaenopsis orchids are named after muses. Specifically, well, all my orchids are named after muses. Specifically, the Phalaenopsis are named after the classic 9 muses that are the ones, if you've heard of the muses, you've heard of them. But there are other muses. So, for example, my vanilla is named Hypatia. Hypatia is a muse from a set of 3 who are all muses of music, and lyre music specifically. And Hypatia is the name of the highest note, the highest string on a lyre. And I forget the names of the other 2. It's the middle and the lowest string. And some of them are fun. Erato, my gloriously large mini Phalaenopsis, who is, I mean, the leaf is about as big as this, even though this is supposed to be a full-sized Phalaenopsis. You know, it's an arbitrary distinction. Erato is the muse of erotic poetry. So, she is the muse of ancient Greek smut. And I figure that name suits somebody who's so extravagant very well, you know? And I don't know what this new girl will be. I'm running out of muses since I have quite a lot of Phalaenopsis orchids at this point. So, who knows? I'll find something suitable. I always do try to be, you know, suitable. It's like Melpomene. That is the muse of tragic poetry, and so that is my poor tragic orchid that I poisoned. I mean, of all the things to be appropriate for a Greek muse of tragedy is having gotten poisoned. Whoopsie. Anyway, she is... I think I've got all the actually dead roots. God, those are some miserable roots. Poor girl. And let's get off that leaf there. All right. So, fresh pot. Honestly, the medium she was in was not too terrible. Some of this last batch, I bought an orchid probably from the same lot. Was it the same store as I got this one? For my husband, and that was in really nice medium and had really good roots and looked fantastic. It was probably from the same batch as this and just didn't get as mistreated in the store. Alright, will you fit in this pot? Yeah, I think you will nicely. Alright, I'm going to go grab my potting medium, and we'll be back. Alright, you guys get to just time travel ahead. Love it. And I also love that that folks are willing to tune in and listen to me ramble. I know these videos don't get many views. I'm not doing this to, like, gain a following and become a YouTuber or anything like that. That'd be pretty ridiculous for me to think possible with this kind of content, considering it's inconsistent nonsense. It's just something I enjoy doing, though. Let's see. I'll try to angle them slightly in the pot when they come from the store. They're straight up and down. But that's not how they grow in the wild. In the wild, they grow much more. Well, you know, they'll be grabbing onto a tree because they're epiphytes, and they will not be grabbing straight up and down to the top of a tree branch. They are as likely to come out of the side of a trunk, or to be on a branch and anchored partly to the top, but just like hanging down all over the place. It's really fun when you can find photos of wild orchids in their actual natural habitat. Can be hard to find because the internet is terrible these days for searching for things, but you know, hang out in a few orchid Reddit communities or whatever, and you'll find people who are sharing their photos. It's quite nice. But anyways, I get off track. I ramble. That's where I was at. I was at appreciating you guys for joining me in these rambles. It is very nice to just, you know, have a little chat with some strangers over the internet. I like talking to people. I'm the kind of person who will talk to my seatmate on the bus, although only if my seatmate makes eye contact. I'm not gonna inflict myself on somebody who's you know, has their headphones on and is studiously down at a book. I'm autistic, but I'm not stupid. Anyway, about done here. Finishing up. I'm gonna need to fuss at this just a little more, but I think I'll do the last little fusses off camera. So thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate everybody who watches these, and, you know, and of course the people who like and comment and subscribe. So you can join me again sometime soon. I'm sure I'll have more interesting plants or more weird stuff about Hellenic polytheism. And I will see you all later. Bye-bye. Adding a little final now that she's completely set, looking nice. And I thought I meant to mention this while I was working on repotting her, and then I forgot. Probably what happened to her. I mentioned she was in pretty good medium, you know. The other orchid I got, probably from the same batch, is in great shape. What happened to this one? Well, what happens, she had root rot pretty badly. So what happens is somebody forgets to water her at the store one day, you know, and her flowers start drying up. So, oh no, somebody notices, waters the poor thing the next day. But that doesn't actually fix the flowers. They're going to just continue to dry and drop. Different employee sees it. Oh no, the poor thing, the flowers are dry, and waters it. Somebody sees it tomorrow. The flowers are dry and waters it, and so on. It got overwatered, probably. And being constantly soggy, that made the roots rot. And here's where it enters the vicious cycle really badly, is because once the roots are rotting, there's not enough root to uptake most of that water. So in fact, it does need to be watered more often than normally. And at that point, there's nothing you can do except pay very close attention, water it frequently, without ever letting it dry out, but also without ever letting it get soggy again, which is not something a grocery store flower counter employee is going to be able to do. Poor baby. But here, hopefully, she will perk up, and we'll see how she looks over the next few weeks. And next year, I hope she'll flower again for me. So, see you guys. Bye-bye.